first order of business today is to mention that I kind of messed up. I forgot my wireless mic today. So I'm going to be shooting on the Pocket 3 with the built-in mics. Second order of business is that everything I'm talking about today I bought with my own money, as is the case in every video. So yeah, let's get started. What I want to talk about today is how to film POV videos for like theme park attractions. Like for us, we love going to Disneyland. I love filming on some of the attractions, and I want to go over my setup for that. So the first thing you should know about filming on attractions, I'm going to be speaking only about Disneyland because that's the park that we go to the most, is that you should check with a cast member about whether it's okay to film on a ride, whether it's with your phone or an actual camera. And step two, which we're gonna go over today, is how to do so safely and without disturbing other guests that are trying to enjoy the attraction. So for like slower moving, more kid-friendly rides that are not like thrill rides, I do shoot with the Pocket 3. And if it's strictly an outdoor ride, I'm going to be shooting in auto, either at 4K 24 or 4K 60. And I'm going to let the exposure auto adjust. I do have my ISO always set to the minimum up to 800 nowadays. I used to shoot at a maximum of 1600 for the auto ISO, but I find that I like 800 because it's a little cleaner. And as far as the shutter speed, I have that on auto because you're looking for convenience, especially when you're on vacation and you're trying to enjoy things. So a couple more things before we continue this video. The first thing, since I forgot my microphone and I have to edit this audio that's from the internal microphones on the Pocket 3, let me know if you want me to make a video showing how I edit this video and clean it up and make it sound decent, just in case you get into a situation like that where you forgot your like wireless mic or something. And the second thing is a little beef I have with the auto exposure on the Pocket 3. So like I'm shooting with a 1 to 5 stop ND filter on the Pocket 3 just to control the shutter speed a little bit. But the issue with shooting an auto exposure on the Pocket 3 is that, say you're shooting at 24 frames per second and you don't want the shutter speed to go below 1/50 on the Pocket 3. Because what happens is if you let the shutter speed get too low, which it will, my SD card in the Pocket 3 ran out of space, so I'm continuing on the Action 5 Pro here. In auto exposure, if you're shooting at 24 frames per second, the shutter speed may drop below 1/50 if the camera needs more light, and you might end up with like 1/25 in shooting at 24 frames per second. And if you don't understand like what happens in that situation is you get too much motion blur. So like these action cameras, you need a higher shutter speed for the stabilization to work. So you're not going to really have proper motion blur. But at the other end of the spectrum, when your shutter speed gets too low, you can have too much motion blur, and that looks really weird and dreamy. And sometimes you definitely don't want that look because everything looks real smeary and weird. So I'm going to try to show you what I mean by the auto exposure bracketing on the Action 5 Pro here. So we go to the settings. So you see where it says auto exposure. Let's touch that. And I have it at minus 0.7 EV, which is kind of where I like both of these cameras, the Action 5 Pro and the Pocket 3. So let's go to this top left corner where it shows the shutter speed, which is currently at 1/240. So if I tap it, you can see that it gives a range between 1/200 to 1/8000. This is a feature that the Pocket 3 doesn't have. When you're in auto exposure, it's just auto. I mean, you can't bracket the shutter speeds like this. So I think a good feature that they should add, maybe in a firmware update to the Pocket 3, is a minimum shutter speed of 1/double the frame rate of whatever you're shooting. So for me, 24 frames per second, it would be nice if I could have it bottom out at 1/50 so you don't have excessive motion blur. So real quick, I'll show you what I mean about the auto exposure on the Pocket 3. So let's swipe, go to auto exposure. You can see I have minus 0.7 EV, ISO at a range from 50 to 800, which is where I like it. So you can bracket the ISO, but you see if I make this dark, put my hand in front of the lens, it drops down to 1/25. We wouldn't want that because there'd be too much motion blur. And then it comes back up when there's enough light. But that'd be something that would be nice if we could bracket the shutter speed on the Pocket 3. Back to the video. So you don't want to be worrying about like manual settings and manual white balance, which brings me to the next setting, which is on auto white balance. I think DJI does a pretty good job with auto white balance, so I'm okay with the slight adjustments you see when the lighting temperature changes. Sharpness, noise reduction, I always have that all the way down because I fix that later on in post. And the most important thing when you're filming on an attraction is to have your LCD screen time out after a short period of time. Basically what I mean is, like, if you get on the ride, you can check like your framing and whatever as you get started, but I always prefer to turn the screen off because sometimes that can be distracting to other people, and you really want to be as discreet as possible as to not ruin the experience of others around you. And I find that with cameras like this, or like the action camera that I'm going to be talking about in the next segment, they're pretty wide angle. So if you're filming in like generally the right direction, you're going to get everything pretty much in frame, and you don't have to worry too much about your composition using an LCD screen. I can't show you on the Pocket 3 because I'm shooting on it right now, but I do have a Peak Design tether on there that connects to this Peak Design wrist strap, and so I always cinch this down and hook the Pocket 3 to this wrist strap as I'm filming for additional safety. Even though it's not, these are like slow moving rides like Peter Pan or like Small World. It's a Small World. Like those rides, you're not gonna have any kind of jerky movements where the camera's gonna fly out of your hand. But I always say better safe than sorry. Sorry, I'm shooting in a really random location right now in like an industrial area, so there might be some really strange noises behind me. The second camera we're going to talk about shooting with is my DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro, which I love this camera. But everything I'm going to talk about as far as shooting on rides pretty much applies to any action camera that you might use, whether it's a GoPro or a what do you call those? The Insta360 Ace Pro 2 or whatever. So first we'll go over settings. Generally speaking, you're going to be using a camera like this when it's a thrill ride or it's a fast moving ride. And so what you want is to be shooting at a higher frame rate and a higher shutter speed so that the stabilization can do its job. Specifically for the Action 5 Pro, I find that any shutter speed below 1/200 generally gives you some weird wobbly artifacts in the background, especially when the ride gets a little rough. So I like to keep my shutter speed at 1/200. I shoot at 60 FPS. I know a lot of people will shoot in like 120 frames per second to get that really, really slow motion. But for me, 60 frames per second is enough with the shutter speed at 1/200. As far as the type of stabilization, I'm using Rocksteady Plus to get the maximum amount of stabilization, even though it crops in a little bit. But I find that gives you the smoothest results, especially on like roller coasters or really fast moving rides. So as you can see, I'm holding this camera like with my bare hand like this, which is what you don't want to do when you film on a thrill ride, because obviously this could fly out of your hand very easily, potentially injuring yourself or those around you. I've seen videos of people's devices, whether it's a phone or a camera, flying off, hitting them in the face, and they get all bloody. We don't want that. So like I said, check with the cast members to make sure it's okay that you film, and you can kind of show them how you have the camera secured so that they give you the okay. Oh, and by the way, same thing applies for this type of camera. You want to have the LCD screen off as to not disturb anyone around you. So when I first started doing ride POVs, I used to use a bite mount like this. Let's see if we can get that in focus. So this is a bite mount. You can attach any action camera to it. You're gonna put it, like, you're gonna bite down on this rubber part, put it in your mouth, and attach the camera like this. I did that a few times, and I found that, like, a couple things. The footage ends up a little bit more rough because it's a lot more rigid of an attachment. And the second thing is you don't enjoy the ride as much because you're focused on biting down on the mount, and also trying to keep the camera steady. If you wanted your hands free, I think it's the only way you could do it. And the way I used to do it is put the bite mount in, and I would have like a tether around my neck, and I'd cinch it up kind of like you would cinch up like a bolo tie or something, and everything was like secured. So if the camera did come out of my mouth, it would just kind of be stuck to my neck like that. So lately what I've been using is this contraption here. It's actually a combination of two products. It's a little Joby carabiner tripod thing with a DJI magnetic action mount there. And so what I'll do is I attach the action camera, make sure it's clicked in there, and I have it like this. And same setup that I would do with the Pocket 3 is I would have, this is like my handle to hold the camera. And where'd the strap go? I don't have the little Peak Design attachment on this right now, but normally I do. So same thing, I would have the wrist strap on, cinch it down, and have this clipped on. And so this right here is how I would secure the camera while I'm on, like, say the Incredicoaster at Disney California Adventure, right? And what that does is what my arm kind of becomes like a stabilizer, and so it kind of buffers a lot of the bigger like jerks and stuff like that, so you can kind of compensate. And also when you go through turns or loops, you can kind of adjust your arm the way you want the footage to look without even really looking at the screen, because like I said, it's such a wide angle, you don't need to worry about looking at it, so you can kind of like go with the flow. And you know, like Bruce Lee said, like be like water when you're filming like that. So I find that this is very secure. I'm confident in myself that like I'm not gonna let this go. That's why you lift weights. Even with one hand, like it's super secure. It's not going anywhere. It's not gonna hurt anybody. And I find that I get pretty good footage. So if you like filming ride POVs, whether you're at amusement parks, riding rides, or if you're like riding a skateboard or a one wheel or whatever, these are my like best practices for how to secure your camera to yourself and just be safe and not bother those around you. That's all I have for today. If you have any questions, of course, comment down below, like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. And as always, thanks for watching. We almost made it. Oh, here we go.
Oh, the little one returned.
Yeah.